Hello, welcome back to the Spoonie Stitcher channel. I'm Shannon the Spoonie Stitcher. You're inside the Stitchery and it's Wicked Wednesday. This is a video I'm going to make once a month, maybe twice a month, we'll see, on different things about Wicked. The Wicked movie is coming out in, I don't know how many months from now. November, okay? It's coming out in November. And part one, there's a reason they have to split it into two parts. If you want to know all about that, I recommend going to Instagram and looking up the Oz vlog. Tori is an Oz historian and she is a genius when it comes to Oz history. She knows all about Wicked. She knows all about the Wizard of Oz stuff. Just if you have a question about the Wizard of Oz, ask her. She will know. Why, Shannon? Why are you spending so much time on Wicked? Well, I have a personal connection to it. Stay tuned. Wicked is a musical, if you don't know. It is about the witches of Oz. It is their backstory on how Glindathegood became Glindathegood and how Elphaba became the Wicked Witch of the West. So this book is called The Grimoire, and this is the full story of how Gregorymaguire wrote his novel, which became the Broadway phenomenon that it is. And had they written this recently, it would also probably say about the Wicked film being made, but this was made a long time ago. So I do love how they make it look like an aged book, which is pretty cool. So. We are gonna go back in time to when I was much younger. I knew there was a musical about the Witches of Oz, but I didn't know anything else. I think this was even before YouTube, or if it was before YouTube was big in my house. I did watch the Tony Awards when I was younger. I did love the Tony Awards. So I knew about Wicked, and I had never heard this music. I had never heard the soundtrack. I didn't know much about the storyline other than it was the Witches of Oz. I didn't know who Idina Menzel was or Kristen Chenoweth. I didn't know who that was. So I knew about the Broadway world in bits, but if it wasn't a news article or on, you know, the entertainment type news on the television or at the actual Tony Awards, then I didn't know anything. Fast forward a few years, and I am sitting in the audience of a school talent show, which, if you've ever been to a school talent show, it can be really great or really awful. And for the most part, ours was fine. However, 3 of my classmates performed Popular. I didn't know this song. I did not know this song. I did not know anything about this song, but I liked it. I could tell that this was a musical theater song. I mean, you could hear the musical theater quality of this song. So I went up to my classmate, after we were not friends. I went up to my classmate after the show and I said, "Where is Popular from?" And she just gave me the biggest face, like, Wicked. And I was like, Wicked? Oh, okay. I had no idea. I had no idea, but I had to know more. I knew somebody who would know. My best friend at the time, she loved musical theater, and if she didn't have the cast album, her sister did. So I knew exactly where I could go. And of course she had the album. She knew exactly what it was. So she let me listen to it, and I borrowed it. We both really latched on to singing What Is This Feeling? And I was Glinda's part and she was Elphaba's part. That was mostly because of our vocal range. I'm a first soprano and she's a mezzo soprano, so. Her sister was an alto, if you care. We were all in choir together. So the fun thing about choir was that, so they had ensemble practice, which was the fancy group, you know, the group that did all the fun numbers, and then you had the chorus, which we did the very standard numbers. It was fine. It was still fun. I don't regret anything. But there was a gap in between our times for the ensemble and chorus. There was a time gap. And so we had a friend who played piano, and he knew show tunes off the top of his head, and he could just go. He could just play. We also had a couple other friends who were huge musical theater nerds, and they would perform. They would just perform in this itty bitty little choir room, and there was no one there, and there would just be like 10 of us, and it was so cool. And I didn't know this was even happening, and my friend was like, you have to see this. People knew we were in chorus, so they were like, come on, come join us and stuff. That was some of the most fun I have ever had. All of these people were musical theater nerds. All of them were in chorus. We all knew each other. It was so much fun. And Piano Man over here, I mean, you just give him a musical theater piece and he's like, got it. And he starts playing. He could also play whatever key you needed, which was just, he's fantastic. I don't know whatever happened to him, but I hope he's playing piano somewhere, because he's good. But anyway, they played What Is This Feeling? And I looked at my friend and I went, let's do it. And she was like, no. Fine. So I start singing, because Glinda's first. I started singing and I'm like, come on, come on. And she's like, okay. And so we start singing, and we're just sitting on chairs and stuff singing. And they're like, no, get up and perform and stuff. And it was so much fun. It was really a lot of fun. We just had so much fun. So anyway, Wicked started to become kind of important. Well, one day my friend told me why Wicked was important to her. And I thought that was interesting. And remember, I had only heard the soundtrack. I didn't know the whole story. I didn't know anything other than the songs. I could put together what's going on somewhat in the songs, but you're missing a lot that's not in the songs. And one of her sisters, she had 3, one of her sisters actually got to see a performance of it. And so she got to tell her about it. And she told me the story, and I'm going, wow, that's amazing. I gotta tell you, it really resonated with me. Okay, so about a year or 2 later, I got my hands on my own copy of the Wicked CD. Yeah, we used CDs. I didn't have an iPod or streaming or anything like that. So if you're young in the audience and you don't know what a CD player is, ask someone. But I can even go further than that. I had a Walkman. I had a Walkman. And my favorite thing to play was Rhinoceros Tap. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, please tell me in the comments, because I would love to know somebody knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, it was so fun to find a character in fiction that I really resonated with. That had never happened before. I cannot remember a time in my life before this that I found a character in fiction that I really felt a connection with. And I connected with all of them. Throughout my whole life, I have felt like the wizard. I have felt like Fiyero. I have felt like, I don't know about Madame Morrible exactly. Kind of hoping I never have. She doesn't really have a lot of redeeming qualities. I've definitely felt like Bach. I've definitely felt like Nessa Rose. I have felt like elphaba and Glinda. Throughout my life, there have been characters in that musical that I definitely felt like. And I think we all have, and I think that's kind of the point, is that you're supposed to resonate with one or all of the characters in the musical. I think that's the point. And I love that. You want part of your musical to, in some way, with your audience, whether that's through an experience, a character, a plot point. There has to be something. Otherwise you lose them. Otherwise it's just boring. And some people said that the first showing of Wicked was really boring. And I happen to know there are several scenes they took out, so maybe it was. Okay, so 2011, I actually got to see Wicked on the London stage. And I have a fun little story about that. So my aunt and uncle lived in England, and I got to visit them. And they asked me which show I wanted to see. I got my choice of any show I wanted to see that was at the time. I could choose Phantom, I could choose Mousetrap, I could choose Wicked, I could choose all this other stuff. And I kept hearing so much about Wicked because my cousins would never stop talking about it whenever I would visit them, and we would, you know, talk about musical theater and stuff. And so I wanted to know more. And I wanted to know the parts I'm missing. You know, I heard the explanation from my friend, I got the CD, you know, but what am I missing? So much. About a year or two before that, my mother and I were watching the BBC, and we were watching a competition called I'd Do Anything. That is the competition where they competed to be Nancy in Oliver. And that's where I first saw Samantha Barks. And if you don't know who that is, she was Eponine in the film version of Les Miserables. She was also in the 25th anniversary concert as Eponine. And when I saw her in the concert, I recognized her from this. So it was really cool. But I also saw Rachel Tucker. And I was like, oh, I just remember being absolutely struck by her. I was like, her talent is something else. Well, I get to Wicked in London, and I open up my playbill. Elphaba, Rachel Tucker. And I went, this can't be the same Rachel Tucker. I flipped to those gorgeous pages, which I have my program. It's huge, by the way. I have my program somewhere in my scrapbooking stuff. I need to find it and show it to you guys if you want to see it. Yeah, gorgeous, beautiful photos, professional photos of them in costume. Oh, I can tell. It's the eyes, man. Her eyes pop off a page and off the screen and off the stage. Her eyes are everything. They are so expressive, so beautiful. And I went, I told my uncle, I said, you're not going to believe this, I know her. And he goes, you've met her? I said, no, but I've seen her compete. And he's like, what are the odds? I said, I know. Because it was very, very lucky, because almost all of the other cast were all understudies that day. I mean, she was like one of the only ones who was not replaced by an understudy that day. Kind of made me wonder if everybody's feeling okay. But yeah, so I got to see Rachel Tucker, and she is phenomenal. Oh my goodness. Anything she touches will turn to gold. Just trust me. She is phenomenal. So I watched her as Elphaba, and I already was connected to this character. She made me cry. I felt things I am praying they express in the new film. There is a scene that is not a very big scene in the musical, but I have never wanted to like have opera glasses more. I wish I'd had something like that, because I wanted to see the expression on Elphaba's face when she realizes she's falling in love. Because, I mean, I could see Rachel's face, but I want to see cynthiaerivo. I want to see that close-up that you can do, because now we're on the screen, right, instead of a stage. I want to see that close-up of when she realizes she's in love. Because who doesn't want to see that face? Because not only will it be sweet, it'll also be sad. Because she'll realize, the song, I'm Not That Girl. But the moment she realizes she falls in love with Fiero, and he probably doesn't love her back, been there. Hurts. But also helps with growth. And then later, when Glinda has a similar issue, yep, been there. It's really interesting how many moments in this musical, when you see it on the stage, I'm not telling you guys to go watch bootleg copies on YouTube, but they're there. I'm not linking any of them, but they're there if you feel like it. But when you see the whole production and you've heard the soundtrack, you see the whole thing, everybody can relate to something. The way this was written, the music hits you in a certain way. I mean, For Good always made me feel warm and fuzzy and kind of made me feel like me and my best friend. And it was really nice. And, you know, when we were no longer best friends, the song was a little sad to me. But when I saw it on the stage was the first time I cried when I heard it. 'Cause, you know, you've been encased in this storyline for 2 hours. And was it 2 hours and 45 minutes, something like that? It's a long musical. That's another reason why they have to split it into 2 movies, by the way. So you've been encased in this musical for, you know, so many hours. You're invested. You're invested in these relationships. And so when something goes wrong or something goes right, you care. And you can't help but cry at the end. And okay, so my aunt and uncle didn't cry, but I did. I did. And now whenever I hear For Good, I always get a little teary because it's wonderful. If you don't know the song I'm talking about, go listen to it. Go listen to Kristen Chenoweth and Idina sing it for the 20th anniversary. Holy cow. Yeah. The way they look at each other and stuff, like you can tell that they're both kind of reminiscing in this song about, they're not in character during this song. They are Kristen and Idina, and they are thinking about their time on Wicked. You can tell it in their eyes, and it's beautiful. The costumes in this show are phenomenal, which is another reason why I'm doing Broadway Bears, mostly because of the costumes. I love the costumes. Susan Hilferty is a genius. They are so phenomenal. I love the Ozdust Ballroom costumes, the black and white, and how Glinda wears pink, elphaba wears blue, and it just kind of pops versus everybody else. Only the main characters, or the main cast, kinda, wear non-black and white clothing in this scene. And it makes them pop. We know who to pay attention to. We know who's important in this scene. And I like that a lot. And I like that Glinda is the shiniest in this scene. You can tell Nessa Rose and she both wear pink, but Nessa Rose wears pale pink and Glinda wears hot pink. And everybody's costume is reminiscent of their personalities. We can get into that another time, another Wicked Wednesday, we could talk about that. But the fact that she paid so much attention to background, where people come from and all that kind of stuff for the costumes. Personalities are in the costumes. That's why Elphaba's dress is not just black. You know, Nessa Rose wearing the soft pink because she's a dainty, sweet, innocent girl, at the time. And, can we all please thank Stephen Schwartz and cannot remember the lady's name for changing Nessa Rose's adult outfit? 'Cause, yeah, the first outfit is not a good choice for her. It's a much better choice. I'll just put it that way. It's a much better choice to put her in that black dress. Much better. Anyway, that's the other thing about this show. Lots of people take liberties on costumes. Always Susan Hilferty's costumes. In every production all over the world, you will see the same set and the same costumes no matter where you go. I think that's great. That's a great choice because then it has a look to it. It's like that is like Fiyero is gonna be, when you first see him, he's gonna be in those khaki pants and that red vest. Elphaba's always gonna be in that black dress with the colors going through it and the different textures. And Glinda is always gonna have the bubble dress. The blue bubble dress. Gotta have the bubble dress, otherwise she's not Glinda. So the story is wonderful. The music is great. The casting is pretty much always spot on, always perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna get personal for a second. In the musical, Elphaba is treated a certain way and Glinda is treated a certain way. I wouldn't say either of them are the good characters or either of them are the wicked characters. which is kind of nice. It's kind of a blurred mixture, which is great because none of us are all good or all bad. You know, we're always a mix. We all make decisions that are bad and we all make decisions that are good, I hope. But in almost every single school I've ever been to, it was, these are the rules of social life, and if you do not go with these rules, we will destroy you. I went to American International School, I was homeschooled, I went to a private school, I went to a public school. I've been to all of them. So I lived all over the world. We did what we could. I never really cared what people thought of me. To be honest, I didn't really care about the crowd until I was much older. And I had people at a very young age that I didn't want to be their friend. And I guess they'd never been rejected in their life. They decided to spread rumors about me and create a reputation for me around the school, which was not nice. And sadly, this pattern of trying to destroy me because I don't fit the mold keeps following me for most of my educational journey. It happened in college, it happened in high school, junior high, elementary school. I liked being homeschooled. I didn't let it change me in a way that fell with their rules. Pretty much like Elphaba. And I'm not going to spoil it for you if you haven't seen the musical, but she didn't do what they wanted, what they thought she'd do, they were sure she'd do, so they set out to destroy her. They said, we have to villainize her before she villainizes us to the world. Now, on the flip side, Glinda does form to the mold and doesn't really sell her soul, but, you know, she feels hurt and betrayed and all kinds of stuff. And I can sympathize with both sides because I've been on both sides. When I was older, I cared a little bit more about what certain people thought of me. When I was younger, you know, I had trouble making friends and having them stick. So I didn't really care what, you know, younger people thought of me. But when I got older and, you know, life happened, I cared what certain people thought of me, and so I would do what they wanted. And in that way, I felt a lot like Glinda. Like, what have I done? And I do regret it. But I also learned from it, and so does she. So I have felt like both witches. And I've also felt like Fiyero and Nessa Rose. And even the wizard at a couple points when you actually do sympathize with him. Yeah, I can relate to a couple things. So this musical is very personal for me. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for letting me ramble on. I hope this was a great video for you to sit down and crochet to. And maybe just listen to me talk. I know I didn't have a lot of images or anything that you could look at. You're just listening to me tell my story. But I thought this was an important video to make before I made any of my other Wicked videos. So I'm going to have the Wicked Diaries, which is my process of making my Broadway bears, because I thought it'd be kind of fun if you guys could come along with me on this huge endeavor that I am trying to accomplish within a few months. Oh, kind of wish the movie was coming out at Christmas. I have another month. But, and it's only because I'm making both. You know, if I was making one bear, it wouldn't be that bad, but not only am I making the bears, I have so many other projects that I have to do on top of that, and it's, chaos. I'm trying to do a crochet along this September, which is a huge undertaking, much bigger than my last one. I'm praying I can pull it off. I don't know if I can, but I'm hoping I can. So anyway, but I want to thank you all for whoever is actually here. Thank you so much. So let's see who was paying attention. What is the first song I have ever heard from Wicked? is it? What is this feeling? Wonderful or popular? Answer down below and I'll know you watched the video. Have a very wicked Wednesday. Remember, life happens, yarn helps, and spoonies can stitch it up too.